Who knows? Anyways, how's business?
Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah, it's just like fucking insane. I mean, let's see. I'll give you some details because it sounds like you want details.
I want details.
Uh, well, I'm hitting my biggest month ever this month, but that keeps happening, right? Every month is my next biggest month. So, especially now that I have a team of like 12 people, just making connections and having conversations. And last month we did 43K, and this month we're gonna do 55 or 60. And the lead of I call it connection and intimacy instead of sales, because sales in my world. So they're literally just to create connections and develop intimacy, because I don't have the availability to be able to do so. And my lead yesterday had the biggest download because my ads are doing so awesome, and we're attracting the exact right people. So what we're trying to do is create a nurture sequence for them to go really quickly from cold to warm. And she was like, well, okay, so we're getting the just right people. She's like, how do we engage them? Of course, we've got the email sequence, but she's like, what about in the actual group? And then she's like, oh, we'll just assign them 10 at a time to a connection and intimacy team member. And that person will essentially welcome them in like a concierge to the group and walk them through all of the content and like be their point person. And I was like, holy shit balls. Oh my God. So we're in the process of setting that up. So that's going to be just outrageous because we're catching them as they're warm, coming into the community. And then as soon as they're coming in, we're scooping them up like little chicks and taking them through the process so they don't get lost, so they don't get overwhelmed by the content. So they have like someone to hold their hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
A year ago, you didn't think you were going to be doing $50,000 months, did you?
A year ago, I thought 50,000 was 3 years away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now
Where were you? I can't even remember. Where were you in October?
in October, dude, I was barely at, so my months were like this because I had no funnel, but I had some months where I was at like 5, and I had other months that I was like 18, 19, because it was just totally random. So my average was 15, 16. So
How do you feel on a daily basis now?
it's nuts. Oh my God. It's insane because like I've really mastered this delegating thing. So anything that I really don't want to do, I turn over to somebody. So I have all of these like spaces just for creation, or just for writing content, or just for writing emails, or working on my email, like, just tapping into my divine client and finding out what she needs that day. And then what the fuck, like, what the fuck, I literally can't wrap my head around reality right now because I have just a really short time, like 4 or 6 months. I have 4 clients that are doing $1 million deals. I have one client who's doing a multi-billion dollar, like 400 billion dollar deal. When she came in, it was already $1 billion deal. But in like 3 weeks, it went from 1 billion to a $400 billion deal. She's like, what's happening? I was like, I know, it's crazy. And then I have like, everybody is just like popping, but it's very like low key. It's not like, we're super in flow. It's not frenetic. It's not stressed out. It's just very like, okay, and then we do this, and then we heal this belief about money, and then we work on your connection over here, and then we just bypass all of these series of limiting beliefs by expanding cosmically. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And we're just, doing our thing. And then all of a sudden they're like, what the fuck is happening? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so crazy. It's cool.
I get it.
Yeah, it's cool.
What do you need help with right now?
Oh, this is for me to do your testimonial.
I know, but I just got it. I mean, there's like literally, what else do I need? What else? What else do I even
I
need?
can talk about how you helped me get there.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Gee whiz, that was, I mean, I'm like, I don't know, what does someone else even need right now? But, yeah, well, let's go into that, and let's go in, yeah, let's just go into that, and we'll see where it takes us.
Okay, that sounds
Thank
good.
you.
You're welcome.
I'm like, I don't need any testimonial interview after that. I mean, what else is there?
Well, no, because the people that I want to talk to are people who are just a little bit more like me, who might not, you know, who don't want to hustle, who aren't in that mode, you know, who may not know that there's a different way, even if they go through you, like, you know, kind of thing.
So let's just go to from, well, let's even just go from, so, in October you were at my event, and then you went into, so let's just bring it from January 2020 to now, even, because you had some pretty big shifts from there. But, I remember at the next event that you were at, you kind of had this realization. You're like, oh, maybe I'm hustling more than I actually even need to be. Maybe I just mislabeled hustling. And so, yeah, so what changed in the business that allowed you not to have the hustle and do this kind of willful consciousness? I could talk about it in as a willful consciousness versus being able to bring in more of the, intuitive, intellectual consciousness.
Yeah, sure. So there were a couple of like really key shifts for me. I think one of the hottest things for people who are very talented but are humble and, kind of in this willful consciousness or even intuitive or metaphysical state is speaking about your results. It's like actually using your testimonials and being able to powerfully claim your role within the results that are created. I think that's one of the hardest things, is because we know we didn't fucking do it, right? We know that it was the universe, that it was creator, that it was, that we're not capable. I am not physically capable of turning a $1.8 billion deal into a $400 billion deal in a matter of days. Like, I'm just not. But one thing that you made very clear at the event, which literally has it's emblazoned itself into my brain, I'll never forget, is that it doesn't matter what I think about the results that are being created. It only matters that I can help someone get to where they want to go. Because right now in this moment, thousands of people are signing up for shitty coaches because they don't know that I exist, because I won't speak about my results or what I can help people do. And that right there, like, tore away all of the preconceived notions about, oh, well, you got to stay humble. Oh, well, I can't be arrogant. I can't brag about my results or things like that. It's like, okay, well, if I don't talk about my results, how do people know if I can do anything? Right? Why are they going to pay me money? Rather than this guy who's really shitty, who, is $10,000, who can't actually help the person get to where they're going, but he's very blatant about talking about his tiny little minuscule results in comparison with what I can create. But people go with him because he can talk about it, or she can talk about it, as opposed to, hiding and being like, oh, well, I just want to be humble. So, like, that was real. That created a really dramatic shift for me. But then, like, as far as getting out of hustle.
Now, I'll just say that all the good people have imposter syndrome and don't want to talk about the results because they, and all the people that aren't so good, they're the ones that have no problem, offering the moon and back and posting result screenshots 19 times a day. I get in the same. I only gave you that advice because it's the same with mine. I had to get over it because, I don't know, last week I had 4 different people pass $250,000 a month. All that, when they started coming to me, were all below 100,000, and they weren't even working with me that long. And I look at that and I'm like, I probably should talk about that. You know what I mean? I probably should talk about that. You know what I mean? I should probably talk. Yeah, I probably should mention it. You know what I mean? And P.S. Let's not do a whole thing about it. Let's not do a whole blog post. But Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. It's that, it's that everlasting imposter syndrome that you have to deal with at every single new evolution, right?
You
It
do.
doesn't go away. It keeps
So,
coming back
so,
up.
so when you came to, so yeah, so when you first came to me, you were having that up and down,
Yeah.
and you weren't using. I always say, whenever someone like you comes to me, you're not using paid advertising, you're not using a funnel, and a lot of intuitive people don't use funnels, don't use ads for a lot of variety of reasons. Um, now you're going to have your first $50,000 month coming from there in a pretty small amount of time, 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. What has the funnel and what has ads made you like feel and realize now that you've like, all right, I'll do it. I'll do it.
All right, I
Like,
guess.
how does that feel? Because I think that someone that's probably watching this that maybe also resonate with you and how
Yes.
you are might have that like, that needed mindset shift around that paid
Right.
advertising.
Right. It's so, oh my God. Okay. So I'm just going to systematically work through the differences that are created when you have paid marketing as opposed to you're just throwing spaghetti against the wall, fucking hoping that something is going to work. So first of all, you're continuing to grow your community. Like us as intuitives, we're so good at magnetizing people to our groups and stuff like that. But there comes a point where we're enrolling more students than we're adding new members to our community. So there always comes a point where our community is completely tapped out. Anybody who is going to enroll in your program is already enrolled in your program. And then you're like, oh no, especially because you're the first coach that I've ever worked with who talks about how to strategically create passive income and not live on what I have endearingly started to call the stripper money, which is, like unpredictable large sums of money that come in who knows when, and feels very unsafe. Like you're the first person who talked about creating consistent passive income, who really helped me to align lack of scarcity, right? Because I've been in an abundant mindset for a while, but I realized that not allowing myself to create more affordable payment plans was still sitting in, it was a behavior that was still sitting in scarcity. Because
Yeah.
it was like, well, what if they don't pay me? What if they only make 2 payments and then they drop out? It's like still sitting in scarcity. So I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna trust the universe, I gotta just fucking trust it all the way, and assume that even if someone does come out, that they're gonna send me 5 people in their place. Like I've just gotta trust it's gonna work out. So
Every refund allows for so much more money.
yeah,
It doesn't pay,
yeah,
creates so much
yeah.
more opportunity.
Exactly. Every
Yeah.
person who leaves, 2 more people replace that person. Yes, absolutely. And that has shown consistently to be true. Um, so there's that. There's not, oh my God. I cannot believe how simple this is, but I also can't believe that you're the first fucking person who's ever even mentioned it. Not spending all your fucking money as you're growing your business. Not spending all your pennies, not overspending, not necessarily building your business on debt if you don't have a certain way that you're going to be able to pay off that debt once you've used that debt to be able to build your business. Um, so it allowed me to
Radical ideas, right? Radical ideas. It's because most business coaches are broke and they're trying to get you to use all your debt.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, okay. So not spending to the edge of my pennies every single month. Whoa. So simple, but so transformative because now I have, 3 months of expenses sitting in my savings account. All my debt is paid off. And I have this huge surplus every single month because I've been consistently focused on keeping a major buffer between my expenses and my income. And I'm like, wow, this feels so radically different than any kind of life I've ever lived before. And there's a sense of certainty, especially as a single mom. There's a sense of certainty that comes along with that, knowing that I could now. I have 20K of payments coming in over the next 18 months. So I have 18 months that I'm going to make a minimum of 20K. Like that right there is stability in itself.
Yeah. Well, it changes your ability. So, I really believe that if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably some level of a visionary, but most people never get that visionary to be able to be activated. Right. And so, you can only kind of look into the future as many months as you have in the bank.
Exactly.
Right. So most people are like, most people are kind of like, because of that, they're standing in front of this beautiful piece of art, but they're like right here, they're only seeing the blob of paint. Right. And they're like, oh, I don't understand this. What's going on? When there's this big, beautiful picture that you just can't see because you haven't allowed yourself to have the capacity to see. And a lot of people are really good at making money. Yeah. Right. Like you're great at making money. I'm great at making money. A lot of entrepreneurs are really good at being able to make money. But saving money is a completely different set of skills and even a consciousness.
Yes.
And your ability to extract the money out of the business and be able to then more consciously be like, all right, where am I going? Who do I need to hire? Where do I need to put the money now? How do I do things in a much more safe, secure place? And I know that for me, when I really, and I think sometimes some of us are like, well, it doesn't really matter. I know the universe got my back. I don't need extra money. Uh-huh. Right. And that's not true. Like right. The thing about that is like, that is true.
It is true.
And do you want to activate that next level of like the visionary?
Absolutely. And the way that I've perceived it and the way that I teach my students is, it's like, yes, the universe will always have your back, but sometimes it wants you to learn the lesson of stewardship. Like we actually still have to be really great stewards of our resources. And sometimes it will shove us between a rock and a hard place in order to get us to see that. It'll say, oh, wouldn't it have been nice if you actually had 3 months of expenses? Like, what the fuck? Like, so many businesses are going out of business because they base their entire philosophy of how they run their business on this same amount of money is going to come in.
6 weeks. 6 weeks. That is how many businesses have in cash flow.
It's nuts. And then when their income stopped, boom, they're bankrupt. And I was like, whoa, overnight, Carnival is out of business. Princess Cruises is barely hanging on because everybody just assumes that the world is going to keep turning the same way that it has been, right? And that's when we have to have that level of responsibility that had never even entered my brain before. You just we're like, hey, how about this, responsibility? One of the other stories, and then I promise you I'll get back to answering your question about paid marketing. But one of the other stories that really hit home about not being a good steward is those stories that you mentioned about your clients, your source of clients that are one of the biggest sources of income for you right now. I don't know. I maybe made that bit up, but those clients who maybe they do make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a month in income, but that's because that's what they have to make in order to break even. And you've told a couple of different stories about that, and the dread that sits on my chest as I imagine what it took to build your business to a multi-million-dollar business, and your quality of life hasn't improved, but your stress has multiplied by this many millions of dollars because 1 month of not hitting that nut and you're out of business. There is absolutely no way in hell that I would ever want to create that kind of life for myself.
Yep. I've done it. So I've been through it.
Yeah, I know.
Been through it. Right. Don't want to do that again.
Right.
And I don't want anybody else to go through it because it makes you make crappy decisions.
Yeah.
You get to understand your true character. That's a good benefit of it.
Oh yeah.
And I definitely, through all that, I realized I'm like, you know what? I'm a pretty good person inside.
When you learn what you're capable of.
Yeah. I know what I'm capable of. I know what happens when the gun's to my head. Yeah. And wow, my integrity is really expensive, and I'm not willing to give it up.
Yeah.
And so that was a good part of it, but. So many people, even over the last 6 months since COVID, people that I've worked with in the past that haven't taken my advice, or people that have come to me and decided, hey, I don't want to work with you because, you know, I give people the truth. I don't give people what they want. Like I'm not a good person to tell you, hey, you know, the fluffy stuff. I'll just tell you how it is. And you know, one benefit of being financially agnostic is from the people I work with. It's like, I want the best for you because I play the long game. I'm looking at where's Abby in 20 years from now, not where Abby's to today. I don't care about that as much. I care about where Abby's going to be in 20 years. So I'm going to give you the best advice. And at some point you're going to come back along and say, hey, you know, and so many people have these massive businesses, are influencers. Right. Everyone look up to them and they're like, yo, I'm going to lose my house if, you know, this, or, you know, hey, you know, I haven't talked to my wife for 2 years about finances and, you know, things are like not going well. And, you know, I'm going to have to tell her that, like, you know, we got to do this or that. I'm just like,
I know. Jeez.
Come on. I told you the difference. Come on. Let's get with it. I'm all about being able to like leap and go to that next step. I'm all about
Absolutely.
That. But once you're making the money, don't, you know, so many people build, you know, one thing I love about you is that you're not building a business for your ego. Or you're not trying to prove anything. Yeah. And, you know, I try to surround myself with people that are building businesses like that. Cause it's a dangerous business when you're building it out of ego and proving again, and experience, firsthand experience. Sure. I can only label it cause I know it. But yeah, that's one of the really good things about, and that, you know, it's why your business, you know, we come back here a year from now, it's going to be $250,000 a month because you're doing it at a place of service.
Right. A place of service consistently. It's funny because I keep saying slow growth. It's not slow growth by any means, but in comparison with going from, you know, 20 to 80 in 1 month, it's 20 to 40 to 60 to 80, you know, like, so it's amazing. And to your question about how paid advertising feeds in with that, one of the biggest mindset shifts I had to get into in order to let that be okay, in order to take this, what I consider to be a very like older paradigm belief when it comes to marketing, is like, you know, have an ad that goes to a funnel, to a nurture sequence, and then they come into your community. It feels old. But then what I realized is that we're not trying to be old or new. Like the purpose is very specific and intentional, and that is to develop a relationship, the same as it always is. When I don't have time to sit on the phone with each new person who comes into my free group, like it's a workaround, right? And you can use bots and you can use team members and things like that. My shift was, there's no reason why I can't take the intuitive way that I put programs together and also apply that to the creation of my funnel. And as soon as I allowed myself to know that and to really dig deep into my intuition, you know, before I even create an ad, it's, okay, let me channel. Where is my divine client now? And she's always in the same place because it's the same person. So where is she today? What does she need to know? Okay, so she needs to know that there's hope and that I can help her find her purpose. She doesn't actually care about money. My clients don't care about money. They just want the freedom that having money gives them. So they want their purpose. They want to know that they're here, that they're valuable, that they're here for a reason, that life isn't, not for nothing. So then I create my ad, and then literally, like, I just tapped in. I was like, okay, what's she going to need to hear next? Reading one PDF from me is not going to switch her into, okay, I believe. So I'm like, okay, what does she need to hear now? And then I'm like, you know what? She's probably really freaking busy because she hates her job. She's usually a mom. She doesn't have time to sit there and read a 20-page PDF. So you know what she wants? She wants the PDF broken down into bite-sized pieces that are delivered to her email that are easy to digest and have compelling reasons to get her to actually open up the rest of that PDF and sit down and read it. So then, okay, great. And then that's my next few emails. And then what does she need? Okay, now she believes I know what I'm talking about, but she's still frustrated. She's still stuck in despair. So now I need to talk to the frustration and the despair. And then she's like, huh, you get me. So now I have to open up and crack into her resignation to that this is the way that life always is, and plant another seed in there that goes, there's hope for a different life, you know? So like working
Empathy.
harder.
Empathy.
Yes.
Empathy.
Yes.
That
Yes.
people try to like, people try to like do all these like, well, what do I need to say next? I'm like, what does the person need to hear? And also realizing that no one's going to pay you any money until they've subscribed to the Church of Abi.
Yes.
Church of Scott, right?
Yes. Agreed.
And so, you know, and I love these people that are like, yeah, I'm just going to do like a video and people are going to pay me like 10 grand. I'm like, all right, first off, let's just go there in a mindset. Do you want the person that's just hanging out on Facebook, right? And it's in that much pain that they're going to pay you $10,000? Do you even want to deal with that shit? Because I don't want to deal with that shit.
Oh, thank you.
I take full responsibility for my own experience. I don't want to deal with that shit.
Absolutely. Because you know they're giving you that money because you've promised them a solution that you're not capable of delivering, because they want you to do it for them at that point. No, you have to have the people who are bought in 100%. And that's why by the time people pay me money, they're already disciples. Like, honestly, like
and those are the best customers.
They are, and I fucking love them so much. And they have my back, and most of them end up joining my connection and intimacy team because they just start sharing the program with people. They're like, hey, I have 5 people who want to sign up and pay in full. What should I do with them? And I'm like, well, we're going to create you a link. We're going to go ahead and get you on my team, you know? And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I could, you know? And it's just like, it's fun. It becomes light. It becomes playful and joyful when you get to, rather than trying to come from the perspective of what does someone need to hear to give me money, because fuck that shit. What the fuck?
Middle finger to that. Middle finger to that.
Agreed.
I'm not going to do it because someone will screenshot it and do some weird shit with it in 5 years. But
yeah, exactly. Smart.
I'm saying it.
Smart. Middle finger. Insert image here. But like when you just do it from a place of, okay, what does that person need to hear to take one more step in their life? Like they are despondent, they're in despair, especially right now. They're hopeless, they feel helpless, they feel like they're starting to realize the truth that everything is outside of their control. And that's a really jarring truth to be met with when you think that you control everything around you.
Oh, isn't it the best one though? Isn't
it
the best
one? The one that leads to ultimate surrender.
I remember the bath that I was in when I realized, shit, I don't have any control. Damn it. Damn it. What am I going to do?
Right.
Let me cry about it a bit, and then let me go and like try to do something about it. And then I'm like, oh shit, no, I actually don't have control. Okay.
Cool. That means that someone else is handling this and I can just go with the ride. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, so that person really thinks that they're incapable of taking one more step. What do they need to hear from you to let them know that they can take just one more step just today? Not give you money, not get on the phone, not do this random call to action, but what do they need to know that they can just take one more step? And that to me is like the whole basis of my entire marketing system. It's like, okay, where are they at in this moment in my sequence, and what do they need to hear right now, you know? And coming from that place not only feels really good, but the momentum that is being generated and that just won't stop growing is unbelievable. It's just sensational because everybody can feel the truth in the words. No, there's nothing to hide, because I have no interest in talking someone into trying to do something with me that they don't want to do. So it's fully transparent, you know. It's just amazing. Are you staging right now? Oh, you're Palo Santoing. Even better. I love it.
So let me ask you this, because I love the authenticity. What was, of your branding and your marketing, what was the mindset shift you had to get to be able to like go? Because most people, I
can smell that. Thanks. It's so good.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got my mermaid matches.
What are they?
They're like these foot-long matches.
Oh, that's that's so cool for lighting.
And it's like when you light it, it's like butter. It's just like, so I don't know. I gotta order more. I'm like almost out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
almost no more Palo Santoning.
Oh no.
So
yeah.
What? I mean, when you came,
what was the shift to get to full transparency?
But I mean, like you're in your business, you're in a very abundant mindset, right? Like it's very evident that you're in an abundant mindset, but you were in an abundant mindset before, you know what I mean? You were in an abundant mindset before the
right.
How do you like, the reason why most people sit down and are like, how do I get money from people, is because they're in a scarcity mindset.
Right.
What was this? And of course you work with this stuff all the time, which is why I'm asking you partially. What was that shift that allowed you to look at business of being like, all right, you know what, I'm going to be in a, even though I'm not necessarily in the most abundant place in my business where I want to be, right, I'm going to start building the funnel that way, running community that way, doing my programs that way. Yes. What was the, and I don't even know if it's something that you consciously.
It was. No, I can. I can. I can. I know.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It was at that first event. Man, you just blew my world right fucking open in that event. But it was in that first event.
Which, by the way, if you're listening to this and you go to thenucleareffect.com, you can get a recording of that entire event. And continue.
Yes. Go get it. It's fucking brilliant. Do it. So the thing that really like expanded my awareness that I could take the abundance of my mindset and translate it into complete authenticity that would actually equal dollars in my life, which is what we need in order to pay bills and survive and then grow and thrive, is the first thing that you did was you gave us permission to stop selling. You told us a story about one of your intuitive clients who was just selling, and you asked her a question and you were like, is this what you want to do? Is this how you want to spend your business? You know, like, is this how you like living? And she was like, no, I fucking hate it. And you're like, well, that's why you're not making any money, is because you're constantly trying to sell to intuitives who hate being sold to. And so you actually gave us permission to be ourselves and just show up and serve. But you did it in a sequential way that we can, like, I can actually tangibly grasp that. And that's when I first heard you present the idea of doing 30 days of value with no freaking call to action, just value, just showing, right? I was like,
crazy ideas.
I know.
Crazy ideas.
Wait, but I thought you were supposed to do a live video every day with a call to action to a phone call and an application every single day. And if you don't, that your business is going to fail. And I was like, whoa, you mean I just get to show up and be myself? And then 3 or 7 days after that 30-day sequence, I can go into offer mode. It can still be value, but there is a powerful call to action because I've just showed up and not asked for anything for 30 days.
I have a new name for it.
Oh, good.
First time I'm going to talk about it right here. Ooh. I'm sure someone might see it before. It's moral gap marketing.
Oh, I love that.
You're creating a moral gap where you're overloading somebody. And so they have a moral, like there's a moral gap of them wanting to like solve the moral gap. Because if you're working with anybody that's ethical and has good morals, they're going to be like, I've gotten so much. How do I get more? How do I pay you money?
Yes, it's the mirror neuron effect. It's the reciprocation.
It's somebody like you. It's like when, you know, my $95 workshop, people are like, Scott, I'm stealing from you. And I'm like,
yep,
cool. I'll see you on the application form.
Exactly.
I'll see you over there. We'll hash it out over there.
Exactly. Right. And the beautiful thing is that I don't care about the science behind it, but it is backed up by science. It just feels better to operate that way. So there was that huge shift. As soon as I stopped selling, my audience started engaging again with my content.
Nobody wants to engage with somebody selling shit.
Not all the time. Not every day.
No, not every day. We're like, all right, let's just have some fun. People are too serious in business. That's a problem. People just want to have fun. People are just People are just 9-year-olds trying to be 40. You know what I mean?
Totally.
We're all just like trying. We're all trying to figure out this adult thing. But let's just go back and blow bubbles and play hopscotch.
Oh, totally. I have this one amazing person on my team, and she just started throwing these really fucking funny, terrible like memes of my head superimposed over like other pictures with a quote that I have said before. And literally the first time I saw like 5 that she put together, I was laughing so hard I was crying. So I actually hired her to create some for me every month because it's so fun.
That's so good. I love it.
It's so great.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
What was the original reason or the original thing that attracted you to hiring me? Because you came in, you did an event, you went through one round of my mentorship, second round of my mentorship. You've been in the Scott play. You've been in the Church of Scott for a while.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was the way that you showed up as yourself that gave me the confidence that you would be able to guide me to show up as myself. Historically, the coaches that I've worked with have essentially said, well, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Like I even had this conversation with one of my coaches and I said, I'm so tired of wearing this wig, but I'm worried about my branding. But can I switch it up? Can I sometimes wear my pink wig? Or can I sometimes wear my purple wig? And he was like, no. He was like, you gotta stay consistent. Your community has come to expect something from you. And so you've got to play into that expectation. And I hated it. Fucking hated that. But I was like, okay, I didn't know better. And then, just loved seeing your posts with like, with spelling errors and then people correcting you and you essentially being like, oh, I don't give a fuck. If you don't like it, just unfollow me. Like, I'm not going to spend 15 minutes extra making sure that everything is spelled correctly for your comfort. That's just not gonna happen, So like,
if you're in my world and you're caring about my grammar mistakes,
yeah,
your shit's fucked.
Yeah. Essentially. And so it was like that brazenness that you were like, hey, this is who I am. You don't have to like it. But I'm not going to change it because you don't like it. Just as long as we're clear about that I was like, okay, you're going to be a great coach because I know how to do that on a personal level. I don't know how to do that in business. Right? Because there was still that questioning, should I say this? There was still that filtering. Well, I don't want to upset this person by saying this kind of thing in this way. And then I realized that every single time you filter yourself, you're watering down your message. And one, you're only attracting people who want the filtered version of you. So
which is not even the real, you're not even going to like that client.
They won't. And that client will end up firing you because you're not being the version of yourself that you were being in your marketing. So they'll be like, what? I didn't hire you. I hired the filtered version. And then the other side of that is your divine clients will never see you because they won't hear your filtered message. So just having that like knowledge, really, and just seeing that reflected in you and then taking that and expanding that out just to trust, and that's when it really falls into trust and surrender. And, I have this idea, this wild theory that I know to be truth, that there's a group of people who came here just to learn specifically from me. And that's why there's no competition. It doesn't matter if there's 5 money mindset coaches standing side by side at the same event.
Energy level, it's her.
Exactly.
Intuition level, it's her.
Yep. All day. Because we were matched up before we even came here. Now it might be a group of 100 people. For me, I know it's a group of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. And so there's no scarcity around saying the wrong thing because you can't say the wrong thing to the person who is here to work with you. Yeah.
Well, last question.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody that's like, oh, I don't know if I should join one of Scott's programs?
That's preposterous. Okay, so first of all, why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? And fucking knock it off. Second, make sure you check your expectations at the door. Like, one of the things that I've noticed about people coming into my program, you probably get this too, is you can't necessarily base your own results on the testimonials that you see other people having. You have to be really, really clear about what your intention is for coming in the first place. If your intention is to learn how to build and scale your business in an authentic way, then you are the perfect person for that. And it just so happens that you can take people there really quickly because you have a really efficient way of doing it, right? And you've got all that experience, and you know a lot of stuff. And you're incredibly intuitive, so you can tap into people and tell them what's going to work for them and what's not going to work for them.
You know,
right?
I have crystals.
Yes. Ooh, I feel that. Ooh, it's so good. Yeah. But if you're just coming in because you're trying to find the magic panacea, or press a button that's going to create the results without having to do anything, Scott's not your guy. That, in fact, no one is your guy, because this doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Give up. Go get a job. If you can find one. So.
That was good. That's funny. Go get a job if you can find one.
Yeah.
There are 50 million people trying to find one too. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'd love to know what someone's smoking if they don't sign up to work with me.
Oh, totally. I'm like, what? No.
What are you smoking? Well, it only comes down to the only reason somebody doesn't work with me is because they don't trust themselves. That's it. Right. That is the only reason, or they don't energetically align with me, which that's totally cool too.
Yeah, that's fair. Or they're really, really deep in fear because they're not. They know they're going to get really great results. And
success is a trip. You don't want to be successful. Forget it. You don't want to have money. You don't want any of that.
No,
you don't want
stay
any
small.
of those.
Yeah. Stay struggling. Stay broke.
Yeah.
Stay on
struggling makes the dopamine get created in the brain. So keep doing that. Keep doing that thing. Abby.
Yes, the only way.
Yeah, the only way is to struggle. Thank you, Abby.
You're welcome. Thank you.